Arrow, yes,
So it's afternoon over there at this point in time.
it is. Yep, it's 5:30, and we had the past several days we've had the most air raid alarms we've had since this started. Two or three a day. So it feels that they're even though and the city itself has not been hit by any airstrikes. We've had some very close, but the level of alarm is increasing.
One of the things that hit me right away when I said that I was hooking up, and you said 1 minute, it hit my heart. What is 1 minute in Ukraine compared to a minute in the United States? Because when you're in a war zone like that, 1 minute could be a lifetime.
Exactly. I mean, this is we. I was at a hotel the other day where CNN is based and a lot of the reporters are gathered. And I stepped in the elevator. It's a very nice hotel, and they put the day of the week on the floor of the carpet, so you know what day. No, and actually I was appreciative because I think all of us here have lost track of the days of the week. We only know it's day 24, 25 of the war. That's it. And so the sense of time is strange. Both, we speak of the time before the war and everything we thought about, everyone's plans and dreams before the war, and where we are now. And there are many moments, Arrow, when sometimes I'll wake up and I'll say, oh, I think I might just lie down for a minute until the alarm goes off, just expecting that it's going to happen.
Mhm.
And so our sense of how we keep time has changed, which is definitely, yeah, it affects. I mean, this has been, it's almost a month now of war mentality, and the war has no weekend. And even in this, we friends and colleagues here, we encourage each other to find space to rest because even though it doesn't pause, we have to be healthy and ready for whatever comes our way.
One of the things that we've heard on this side of the planet is that the port city, the Russians have dug in, but at the same time, we hear how strong Ukraine is in the way that they have taken that city back. That port city is important to Russia, but I'll tell you what, though, the way Ukrainians are sticking in there, I mean, it's just amazing to the rest of the world.
Yeah, that city of Mariupol. I mean, when we hear of the siege of Mariupol, I think of the Spartans being besieged. I think of Cromwell's forces besieging cities in Ireland. This is one of the most, one of the worst sieges in human history. But it's part of that's because the city has, the citizens are not giving up. It's very hard to get information from there because they've lost electricity and a lot of communications. Food supply is low. Even the civilians evacuating have been subject to Russian attacks, and it is an absolute horrible story. It's yeah, we don't, and I think in some sense, here in Lviv, it still is calm, but what's happening in Mariupol, everyone feels that could happen anywhere. But the thing that will prevent that from happening is the fight that the Ukrainians put up in that city. We also look at the city of Kharkiv, which was the first place that was attacked, minute first minute of the war. And there they've successfully kept the Russians out of the city as well, but they've endured constant shelling and attacks. And so it's difficult to get food. Life is becoming more difficult, and this, yeah, the situation is in Mariupol, Arrow. It is absolutely dire and terrifying what has happened to that city.
Yeah, because on CNN.com today, they're saying that the Ukrainian president has said that it's just Armageddon, and that we, as a generation, are seeing Armageddon.
Well, I was speaking yesterday with an Associated Press reporter here in Lviv, and the Associated Press, they were targeted themselves when they were in Mariupol, because Putin showed no qualms with going after journalists. I mean, he goes after women and children. So and the account of the Associated Press, I mean, they had to flee the city. So now it's even hard to figure out what's going on there because the press was forced out. And it's we see there, and this is where the comparisons to Hitler are appropriate. We see an absolutely ruthless tyrant who has no qualms attacking civilians. And Mariupol is important to Putin because, like, right now, the Russians control all of the coastline of the Azov Sea, which is the little sea northeast of the Black Sea. The only thing they don't control is Mariupol, and that's why they're hitting it hard. I mean, they're even firing. They have ships in the sea that are constantly firing upon the civilians of the city.
Speaking of firing upon things, I don't know if you guys are privy to the news, but it was very interesting to hear that the Russians have lost a lot of generals. I believe 5 generals. And the reason why is because in Ukraine, they were able to get into their communication devices and break them down, which has caused confusion, putting the generals out there in the open. And then Ukrainian snipers, boom, boom, boom. It's just amazing how communications really has played an important role here.
Yeah, I think we've seen that. I mean, the Ukrainians, and this is one of the things that has surprised the world, but the Ukrainians have been very sharp with two things. One, as we've seen, Russian morale has been fairly low. I mean, what is the reason why they are fighting here? The Ukrainians are fighting to defend their homeland, so they have to use everything at their disposal, which include, I mean, this is a very tech-savvy country. I heard Tucker Carlson on Fox News the other day saying, "Oh, Ukraine is, it's the poorest country in Europe." That's not the reality. This is one of the most tech-savvy countries in the world, and so they've been very good at communications and intercepting the Russian communications. I think this is one reason why Ukraine has done so well. We've also heard. I was speaking with, we need to share these videos with you. But I was speaking with some of the foreign fighters who have been in the trenches outside of Kyiv, because while at the same time we see this sort of tech-savvy war. These American and British fighters were telling me that it also feels like World War I. I mean, there's trench warfare, and absolutely brutal trench warfare. So it's what's strange about this. Some elements of this are high tech, and we have great air defense. But at the same time, there's the brutal fighting in the trenches. That people have only read about or watched in movies.
That's right. That's so true. That's so interesting that you bring that up, because I've talked about that on iHeartRadio. One of the things also is that you bring up a very interesting point about what the average person thinks of Ukraine, where you said it's the poorest. It's been accused of being the poorest in the area. But I'll tell you, how many Americans actually think that Ukraine looks like Afghanistan, and that's where the confusion has got to. It's got to rest. They've got to get their truth and stuff like that about what this nation is all about.
Absolutely. And I think, one of the biggest untold story now is what happened in 2014 when the people peacefully took to the streets and they said, we want our democracy. We want to govern ourselves. We don't want a puppet regime from Moscow. And even when the secret police fired upon the citizens, they didn't flinch. And that was, I mean, this is something that Hong Kong tried to do, but was not able to do. We've seen these movements all around the world, but the Ukrainians did not flinch. And so for 8 years, they had this window of liberty and creativity and freedom. And that's what it seems that, Putin is trying to destroy and wipe off the face of the earth. And, when I look at, I was in the city of Kharkiv, 20 miles from Russia last month, and it is before the war. And it is one of the most entrepreneurial, hopeful, innovative city of cool cafes and startup companies. And now all the world sees of it is a city that's in ruins and destruction. And I think that's what Putin wants to do. He doesn't want the world to see that Russian-speaking cities can flourish, because that doesn't happen in Russia. But that's what he's trying to destroy here in Ukraine. And when you look at the official GDP statistics, by many official statistics, Ukraine is at the lower end of wealth in Europe. But as I learned here, and I saw when the pandemic started, a lot of that is sort of off the books here. These people, after 70 years of Soviet rule, and then having several decades with revolutions, they learned how to survive. No one would ever go hungry here. Everyone knows how to grow stuff. There never are toilet paper shortages, not even in war, like America has when there's a snowstorm. This is a very resilient and resourceful and resource-rich country, but it's not poor.
What's really interesting, the way that you just explained that is because I'm Taekwondo 3rd degree black belt. One of the things that I had to do was study Korean history. The Koreans also had to learn how to live off the land, to survive off the land, and to use the tools of the land. I mean, it's you talk about history repeating itself here as well in almost the same region.
Yeah, I would say. I mean, it's that's in hard times. People they learn how to adapt and survive, and so Ukrainians, that's still in their DNA.
Yes.
I mean, after almost 100 years of oppression, those skills get passed down, and so all of that is being utilized now. I will say also that this is an incredible. I think we have an alarm right now. Anyway. It's fine. We're in our news bunker, and but my staff just told me that we have which is, I mean, Arrow, we just had. This is becoming much more frequent. Usually we'd have one, usually in the middle of the night, and now here in the daytime, just a few hours apart, we have our second alarm. But what I was saying is, part of one of the few good things that people would say was a legacy of the Soviet time was the technical and mathematical education. Mm-hmm. So Ukraine has great engineers, and I think we see some of this on the battlefield. But this is why it's been a top country for IT outsourcing in the world, and so that there's a great wealth here of knowledge and talent and desire to succeed. And so all of these things I think do make Ukraine a resourceful and in many ways a wealthy country.
One of the things that's on the front page of the Charlotte Observer today is the Charlotte Observer is trying to educate people this late in the game as to what is and is not fake news. And the reason why I bring this up is because last week Putin does this gigantic speech in an arena that has thousands of people, or so it seems. What was that? Was it real? How did they put something like that together? Because I mean, have you seen it yet?
Yeah, it's bizarre to see. I mean, in some ways, it's for one, if you on the most technical level, there was a moment where there was a glitch, and it seems that Ukrainians, these smart IT Ukrainians I was speaking about, they were able to hack this this video, which was Russia billed it as a live event with live streaming coverage, but the way it was hacked made it clear that it was not live; it was pre-recorded. And this is so it's sheer Putin propaganda. And then a couple of reports said that some people going to the rally, whenever it actually was, that they had been offered been paid or threatened by their employers. It's really hard to get good information from Russia because there's no free media. But when you see the other thing, like, let's say even it was true that all these people wanted to be there. How could you be waving the flag of your country? Could you do that if you saw the images and the videos of what's happening in Mariupol, of the women's and children's hospital that was attacked, of the civilians attacked in Kharkiv, of the people in Kyiv who for over a week now have been armed to the teeth and waiting in fear that their city will be invaded? How could you go to a rally and wave flags in favor of that? And it says either there's a deep soul sickness of the people, or they're totally ignorant, or they're under threat and they're afraid.
Wow. So what went through your heart when you saw the cosmonauts dressed up in their spacesuits that were yellow and blue? I mean, is someone going to get in trouble when they get back to land?
I did not see this. You're saying that this is the Russians in the International Space Station?
Yes. And the three cosmonauts that landed up there. The pictures that were taken, they are in bright yellow and blue. And now there's the conspiracy is that they're saying, oh well, it's because they went to school in Ukraine and that was their way of honoring the school. But at the same time, there they are in the International Space Center, sporting the colors of Ukraine.
Well, I think that's a great act of rebellion, and I'd love to. I'm curious as to when they're due to return, and if Ukraine is victorious by the time they return, then they will be okay. They'll be welcome here, I'm sure. But it is, and if that was their intention, it is actions like that the Ukrainians have been urging the Russian people to do, quite vociferously, because. It's Ukrainians, and I think other people in the world say to Russia, it's not, they don't pity the Russian people right now. They say, you have permitted this. Your silence has allowed this. Your fear has allowed this. The Ukrainians in 2014, they had the president Yanukovych here was a pal of Putin. And Ukrainians said, we don't want this. We want our own language and our culture. And so they stood in the streets. They took the bullets. And they say to the Russian people, you need to be brave because you have created a menace. And it's not just Putin; it's everyone who enables him to stay in power. And so those little acts of defiance, maybe they can awaken some more people in Russia. I will say there was a video, Arrow, of one of the Russian prisoners of war, more of a senior officer, not a major general, but more senior. And he said. When he was in Ukraine, somehow he saw a video of one of his favorite boxers, who was Ukrainian. and the guy was crying about how he has to defend his home, and this Russian soldier said, you know, a few years ago that, you know, he would just be sitting at home watching TV and he respected this guy. Now he's the one that is making one of his heroes, you know, weep for his city. The more Russians can realize what's happening, maybe they will wake up.
Yep, absolutely, absolutely. You are fundraising. Where can people go to finance what you guys are doing and to make you stronger in that area?
Thanks, sir. Yeah, we have our landing page is LvivLab.com, LVIVLAB.com, and there you can find links to our Telegram channel, that's where we can share information most reliably without social media networks interfering or shutting us down. And we accept donations via Bitcoin and PayPal to support our newsroom, but also we have a team that works on bringing supplies and logistics from the U.S. To Lviv, and then to get them to the people who need them here on the ground. So you can visit LvivLab.com.
I'm so glad that we get to hook up, and I look forward to the next one too, because I know your word is straight, and you know, this is what it's all about. It's about getting it around the world in every way we can.
Errol, I appreciate it very much, and I look forward to when we can, you know, analyze this all, you know, later, you know, in Charlotte one day. But here we are for now.
You bet, man. You be brilliant, okay?
Hey, thank you. You too.
You bet. Bye, guy.
Bye.
I want to do a footnote on this. In the background of this conversation are the birds here in the Carolinas, the second day of spring, singing. Where Joe is, there's war. And in my heart, I can only hope that God put those bird songs through this digital device and Joe could hear his hometown. If not, then hopefully Joe will listen to the podcast and hear that the birds were singing to him.